I'll call this meeting of the TCC May 5th, 2026 to order. Just a quick reminder for everybody that, of course, it's an in-person meeting, but we do have the hybrid option for anybody that couldn't attend. It's obviously they may not be able to hear all the conversations going on, but they can certainly interact with staff. Staff always does a good job of keeping up with that in Microsoft Teams. And I was told Lou has a quick announcement before we get into the meeting.
Someone has left a really nice blue water bottle out at the registration desk. I didn't want you to go off without it.
That's me. I'll get it.
Lou has that for sale for $20.
There we go.
All right. Ready to call to order, and Lou's got her announcement, so we'll do approval of minutes from April TCC. Do you have a motion? A motion? Second. Any conversation or any comments, corrections? Seeing none. All those in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Public comment period. Open the floor for anybody from the public to make a comment to this committee. Seeing none, I'll declare the public comment period closed. Move on to the action items. First action item is the May cycle of tip amendments. I'll turn it over to Matthew Cushing.
Very much, and thank you, members of TCC. So I'll do some context setting on the tip again, but I'm actually going to hand it over to Connor here in a little bit. Just as a reminder, the Transportation Improvement Program is our short-range work program that covers a 4-year span. It's fiscally constrained. It's kind of our short-range plan, and this is the really detailed by phase and by year programming of funds that is then used to obligate funds at the federal level. So this is really tied directly to project funding as a project moves through phases. One other thing to remind you of, we're going through that whole process of moving to our next tip, the 26 to 29 tip, these days, right now. So as we do amendments, we're often making them in 2 tips concurrently, the 23 to 26 and the 26 to 29 tip. So especially if you see a tip amendment with a 26 year on it, just know that it is probably impacting both of those tips. That said, I do want to hand it over to Connor. I know we introduced Connor recently, but I'd like to reintroduce Connor. Connor is our tip coordinator. You can start emailing him and things now. So please do. As a reminder, he joined the GNRC team about a year ago as an intern in our community and regional planning team, moved over to our economic community development team, and we snatched him up at transportation and infrastructure. He's done a great job so far. So please, like I said, please email him. Connor, would you like to go ahead and run email?
Just checking. Just who do we email? Yeah.
As if they weren't already.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Connor Carroll. It's good to introduce myself to y'all, and feel free to come up and get my business card and information for future tip amendment and modification requests. I'm here to introduce the 3 tip amendments that will be presented at the TPB meeting on May 20th. There are 3 types of amendments. The first 2 are CMAQ awards awarded by TDOT to Williamson County, 1 to the Williamson County TMA Group, and 1 to Franklin Transit Authority. The first amendment adds $415,000 in FY26 CMAQ funds. This will be for tip amendment ID number 2015-65075, vehicle replacement for van pool. The second amendment will add $615,000 in FY26 CMAQ funds awarded to Franklin Transit Authority for tip ID number 2015-65060 for bus and bus facilities. The third amendment, it regards Metro Nashville East Nashville Spokes Project. It will shift $200,000 in federal STBG funds from construction to PE NEPA. And it also adds a $9.3 million in federal ATIP discretionary funds. These are active transportation funds that were actually awarded in January of last year. We're just updating the tip page to show those funds being notated. And those are the 3 tip amendments that we have for this cycle.
Hey, Connor, any questions for staff?
The ATIP discretionary award is, never heard of that before, but is that something new that others can apply for?
That, as you guys might know better, but as far as I know, that was one of the discretionary awards under the IIJA, and I think that it's wrapped up, so I'm not sure it's going to be open up anymore.
I can further clarify that those two lines will be shown on the FY 26 line and FY 28. So one of them will be shown in this tip and the next one will be shown in the next tip.
On the Williamson County, Sharmila, I know if you know, do you know how many vehicles that is that you're replacing?
It's not 10.
10? Thanks.
Else? So this is an action item. Entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion approve.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next action item. All right. Election of officers. We'll finally get this housekeeping item taken care of. So I'll introduce Daniel McDonald to kind of give a little background.
All right. So yes, thank you to Jonathan for stepping up. He has been the vice chair and has been acting as chair. You guys might have noticed we had a lot to do the last while, so thank you for bearing with us. The committee and officers are chair and vice chair by our bylaws. They are elected through the fiscal year for October 1st through September 30th, federal fiscal year of each year. They can serve up to 2 consecutive one-year terms. And so long as an officer is still a member, that they can sit in their seat until that their successor has been elected. So the next bullet point, we're filling a vacancy right now. Obviously, we know Josh Suda has moved on to the state planning agency, and so the chair is currently vacant. It has been being acted as by Jonathan, who was or is the vice chair. So what we're doing today is filling the terms through the end of this fiscal year. And then we can reelect them. We'll reelect them to the full term, hopefully if they're willing at that time. So the election nomination committee is Glenn Harper of Columbia, Marshall Boyd of Sumner County, and Matthew White of Mount Juliet. Thank you all. Staff made recommendations, and basically we made the recommendations by our informal customs, particularly the incoming vice chair alternating between a city and county. We see Jonathan Marston is the city of Franklin, so we're looking at a county next, and then finding what county hadn't been represented the furthest back. So we kind of rotate across the region with those. So of course, anybody is available to be nominated. These are the informal customs, but we made our recommendation based on that. So with that, I guess I can turn it back to you for any questions. Acting chair.
I will actually turn it over to the nominating committee to get their results of the nominating. And there was, I do appreciate Matthew Marshall and Glenn doing that for us. I think they were told at the beginning of last meeting that, hey, you're getting nominated. So I do appreciate that. Thank you all very much. We did not name a nominating committee chair, so whoever wants to speak up is more than welcome.
It was a tough decision, but we
Rigorous debate.
deliberation, but we obviously have full confidence in your ability to be chair, and Doug DeMasi is vice chair. So do we make a motion for us to vote on that? Is that the okay?
And I will ask if there are any other nominations from the floor.
Oh, right. That's good.
I'll make a motion. Jonathan chair, Doug DeMasi vice chair.
Okay. Got a motion? Second. And actually, we'll do them, really should do them one at a time. So we'll do chair first. So I mean, it's a formality, but
Do it separately.
same motion. Okay. Same second. Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Now for vice chair, Doug DeMasi.
I mean, Doug DeMasi.
Same motion and second. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank y'all.
And thank you too for being willing to serve. I appreciate it.
The real question, Doug, did you know? Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we had some email exchanges about this, like, yeah, it's supposed to be a surprise. It was, no, yeah, time out. Yeah, no. All right. Thank y'all. We'll move on to the next, the informational item. It's a transportation planning work program. Turn it back over to Daniel.
All right. So, as you know, we adopted this transportation planning work program, also known as the Unified Planning Work Program. So we call it UPWP for short. Gets a little confusing with the acronym there. We adopted that last summer. It's a 2-year kind of update cycle, but every year we come in and ask for updates to it. So this is just kind of a letting you know what's coming up with the update. As a reminder, it is to align regional activities that are of significance, much like we all just went through the RTP plan, which were for projects, and these are for plans of significance. It also prioritizes federal programming. So similarly, again, it kind of unlocks that federal funding for the planning activities that we do here. And this one spans through the FY27 fiscal year. And you can find this on the website, gnrc.org/UPWP, but it kind of gives all the topics and highlights, work tasks and outcomes, spells it out for everything that we want to do, both as a region and your locally significant projects. So in January, we requested any updates to that, anything new that you had not submitted last summer. We asked for those by March 31st, and we got a few responses, some local and I'll go through what we're going to update. I will say that if you forgot to send something, let us know. There is time. We're going to be officially amending this in July. So there is a little bit of time if there's anything new that you forgot to submit or let us know about, or something has come up since then. So either regional priorities that you say, hey, GNRC, you should be studying that, or regionally significant ones that you are studying at home. So the GNRC projects, this kind of encapsulates a lot of what we talk about every month here. The ongoing activities such as the RTP tip, safety action plan that we're working on, data acquisition, but also like we've mentioned, we're looking forward to initiating some new planning activities, an updated freight study, airport accessibility study, regional greenways master plan in the coming year. In blue there, you'll see ones that we are adding, the ITS architecture update. There was a big effort, I believe it was in 2020, 2021 timeframe to get a regional ITS architecture. We're going to bring that back up to the top at some requests of our agencies, relook at that, make sure it's good, and update that to current standards. And then the partner statuses, these are the ones that we have already: major plan updates, roadway safety, transit and demand management. And then we have a few in the corridor sub-area studies. These are the blue ones that we've heard from as new to add to the list: Harding Pike and White Bridge Transportation Area Study, and the Nolensville Pike All Access Corridors from Metro Nashville. Thompson Station added the Columbia Pike and the Lewisburg Pike Planning and Design studies for that. So again, if you have anything, let us know real quick. And this is the schedule. We've done the call for new studies. We're gonna give you all a minute. If there's anything left, we'll do a TCC endorsement on anything to be added to the plan in July. We'll put it out for our public comment and review period as is standard, and then look for a public hearing and adoption by the TPB in the July 15th meeting there. And I think that is it, but I'll leave it there. Back to you, Chair, for any questions.
Thank you, Daniel. Any questions for staff? All right, we'll move on to the next informational item, tip call for projects. Turn it over to Matthew.
You again. So we talked a little bit about the tip before. We'll be talking more about the tip this meeting and the next few meetings. But some context, I know a lot of you were here for a lot of this, but for those of you who were not, we did a major update to the tip in November of 2025 to start the 26 to 23 tip period. That's largely to align with TDOT's STIP update that they're doing as well. Because we were going through a regional transportation plan update at the time, we didn't have a lot of new projects to add to the tip at the time in that new prioritized horizon. So the tip that we adopted in November mostly included carryover funds from the last tip, funds that were unobligated that we needed to show in the next years. It also showed some regional allocations and some TDOT projects that we knew about. But as you all know, in April, we adopted the regional transportation plan. So we have a list of priorities for the next 25 years, and we need to start translating that into the tip. So following this update, we're going to be updating the tip to reflect the 26 to 29 priorities. I will say we have kind of lopped off that 2030 year in the update now. That is not a required year. We were being ambitious, but we're going to align that with what the other MPOs in the state are doing. So I'll be talking to you about how we're going to be doing that. We have a relatively ambitious schedule here. I'll talk through it. I will say the goal of the tip call for projects is to put programming on projects that are ready to obligate those funds and that you told us about as part of the RTP update. So hopefully this will not be, you shouldn't be doing 3 months of planning for these at this point is what I'm kind of getting at. So the schedule that we're proposing today, we'll talk to you about our process. We will at TPB kind of formally approve this process. And then we're hoping by the end of the month to get your applications in. I know between TPB and that application submission, there's only about a week there, but we're hoping to get you started soon. If we get feedback from TPB on changing schedule, we expect that we may. Of course, they can direct process too, but we expect likely that the details will be the same regardless of schedule, that the details of your projects, excuse me, will be the same regardless of schedule. This would allow us, if we get your submissions by the end of the month at next TCC, to bring a candidate list to you that you can review and comment on. And then we would take about a week and a half to request any tweaks, any changes, any omissions, any errors, anything like that that you see. And then that would give us about 2 weeks internally to prepare a final amendment package for the July TCC and TPBs. So that's all to say in the next month or so, we'd really be working hard to get project details from you. How we're going to do that? Well, I'll tell you about what you would submit. I'll also give you a little bit of a tech demo. You'll see an interface very similar to something you've seen before. But what we need from you is updated cost estimates and project timelines by fiscal year and phase. So on the right, you see an example of a tip page currently. We're basically asking you to show us what it should look like in the next cycle. We do know that, especially for some of you who are working with us recently on the RTP, you gave us some of this recently. So we are going to be providing a list of your funding rows from the RTP. If you want to just check that and say, is this still right? Like, let's go put that in, that's fine. But we also know that some of you gave us those funding rows about a year ago. So we'd like to make sure that you review it and just check that it is still accurate based on your understanding of the project. The major difference between what we asked for you to do for the RTP process and the TIP process, the RTP is that long-range plan and it can really look out to long horizons. Those projects can be more conceptual. At the TIP stage, we really want to make sure those funds are getting obligated and spent, so we're not locking them up so other projects that are ready to go can go. So there's a part where you will be demonstrating both the readiness to move forward and ability to do local match as part of this as well. Generally speaking, these submissions should be for projects that are in the adopted RTP. A lot of you, that's a one-to-one correlation. Like you submitted a project and it's a very clear, like it is in this area. Sometimes it'll be a little broader. So like we do have regional buckets for our Safe and Active Streets program, for instance, or the ATP, it used to be the Active Transportation Program, often used for greenways as an example. So you can submit a project to the Safe and Active Streets program, even if it is not a standalone project in the RTP. Similarly, the Transportation Technologies Program, this is often going to be like ITS projects or transit-related improvements, technologies. You can submit a project that is not a standalone line item in the RTP. Similarly, there's transit groupings that we have in the RTP. You can submit a project that is not a standalone project, but that pulls from that grouping, like a 5307 grouping or a 5339 grouping, something like that. I'll pause there for a moment for any immediate questions, because I'm going to do a tech demo in just a moment. Does that raise any immediate questions for anybody? Yes.
Use like a specific example. So Goodlettsville's Main Street project is finally ready, submitted final designs to TDOT, and we're ready to go out to bid. I guess with the timing of this being, you mentioned 27 to 2029. Ideally, we try and get advertised before the end of the federal fiscal year in September, but I guess from your perspective are you just looking for October 2026 as like the new federal fiscal year to,
That's for the 2027. Yeah, that would be correct. Yes.
so we might just have to wait until,
So-
Yeah, let's clarify the question.
Yeah, well, if I'm hearing it right, if you were going out to bid, you'll have it obligated hopefully in 2026 fiscal year.
money from the RTP in order to.
Right, okay. So I guess what we're asking for is you to go in there and look into what he's about to show you. It should show what you want it to be and you think is feasible. So if you want it to happen in 2026, then that's what it should show in there. And then we can work with you if there's some urgency to get that obligated faster. I think that's what
That's
you're
an
asking.
accurate description. Any other burning questions? I will do the tech demo, which will give you the interface that we're going to use to collect this, but the concept I'd like to make sure we're clear on before we move forward into that.
I'll just use this opportunity to note that, just when you thought you couldn't be in the more than 50, I mean, we are, as a state, as far as getting these funds obligated and spent. So, Puerto Rico also gets funds, so that puts us at 51 in the nation, which is on the wrong end of that. So, just like he was mentioning, like projects that you can get out the door, is a priority in this state. So, we need to continue to work towards that. And that's all of us included. So, including our staff at TDOT, if you need help from us, please do reach out. If you got a project that's been lingering along, you might want to consider putting those funds on something else that can move a little quicker. So again, it's not a Nashville problem. It's all across the state that's created this kind of backlog of stuff. So again, we're continuing to make improvements on our side as well. Again, we're willing to help. So please reach out if you do have.
Thanks, Stacy. And I'll piggyback on that and say that please, as you're going through this tip, please look very in depth at, are you truly going to get that project done? I know sometimes we submit projects that everybody wants the funding in every organization. We're all fighting for the same small pot of funding, TDOT included. We're all fighting for the same small pot. But if you're truly not going to go design right away, construction in 3 years, don't show that, because all you're doing is holding out funds for somebody who needs the funds to move forward.
That's accurate.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Would there be something in this tip, not because there's not enough time in the short time frame to provide this, but would there be something 6 months after the tip that will be follow-up that communities will need to show, hey, these projects that we have on here, they're not just filling up space, holding up the money. Here's our financial commitment, so that we're validating. We don't just have all of this money setting in all these communities and everybody just sitting there thinking, well, a project's going to happen, but the local community hasn't really even designated their portion for that particular fiscal year, if that's right of way or design or whatever it would be. And I think that's important. I think nobody's prepared on most of the projects you're going to submit on your tip right now within this timeline to be able to provide something from your legislators, showing that you're going to have funding in that first year. But I think that's something to be able to do that and to free up the available funding and match it with the communities that are actually seriously going to do it. Because it's easy, I think, for us to just say, yeah, we're going to do this and it's $22 million. And then we're sitting back, and then 4 years from now, then it's like, oh, why isn't that project done? And we really haven't made it a priority in our own community because we haven't set aside, the money to start that. So I don't know if that's something we're looking to do. I think it's something that we need to do. and it's certainly something, it's difficult because I think we're looking at this, we have different communities and we're all looking to vie for, to get some of that money secured. But I think what's better for our region, which really it's a whole regional transportation approach, is that the communities that are actually going to financially follow through with the planning, and engineering, and making sure it's going to get done. That's where we need to funnel the money. Hopefully that's my community. But to be honest with you, if in my community we don't step up to that responsibility, then we shouldn't be holding all the money up from everybody else that actually can do some things. So I think that's something as we move forward in this over this next year. I think we need to look at something like that, that's a check on that. So it's not just like, once you get your project in the tip, then, oh, you're good. And really, we're not going to bug you about it for about 3 or 4 years. It needs to be something where we check the door and make sure, well into it. What kind of progress have you made? Where is something from your legislative body confirming financially that you've even set enough money aside to do what you said you were going to do when we set aside the money? I don't know if any of that makes sense to anybody, but I think that's something that's very important for us to do, because I think as years goes on, just like what Stacy was saying, if we're at the end of this thing on how we're getting money out the door, then there's no rush for anybody, state legislators, federal legislators, to pour money, back into Middle Tennessee if we're not getting the projects out. What would be best is for us to be so caught up that then you pour more money and we can take the money and put it directly into projects. Not in a 6-year period, but like in an 18-month period. And so I don't know if any of that makes sense, but I think that's something that's going to be very important for us to seriously look at, which I think would be good for all of us to look at doing that. And as a group agree to some kind of standards as to which, hey, you need to do this, or you're going to get kicked out of your place on the tip, and some other community or county or whatever, they're going to actually get your money.
And that's something that there's a perfect segue for me, is that late last year, the TPB actually formed like a project. I'm going to get the name of the committee wrong, but it's like a project prioritization committee to talk about how we want to start. I'll say re-obligating or reallocating funds to other projects, especially from projects that have not started. We haven't had our first meeting yet, and I think Jim, you're the chair of that, aren't you? You're the chair of that committee. So when that's going to kick off, now that we've kind of gotten through the RTP and we're getting into the tip now, but to do exactly what you're talking about is to, as a TCC and as that committee is going to come back and have some conversations, some probably really hard conversations that are going to be hard for everybody to hear, is that, like you just said, if you haven't made progress on your project and you've got $10 million tied up, there may be a totally legitimate reason for that. But if you can't use it, or maybe your costs have tripled and you're just not going to do the project, then we need to reallocate that fund to a project that can use it. So there's a lot of hard decisions that are going to have to be made, because I will say, from MPO and GNRC staff, they've always required us to provide funding match proof. They've always required that, but however, they have been very lenient about pulling funding back from locals just for obvious political reasons. But that's something as that committee and TCC, and then ultimately the TPB is going to have to vote on it, is to vote on some kind of rules and regulations that ultimately will make that happen, because we do need to be harder on ourselves. Going back to even what we're talking about with the tip, is take an honest look at, are you truly going to spend that money in that time frame, or are you just saying, I want my money and I don't want someone else to take it, which that's totally fine for your own jurisdiction, but it's not good for the region. It's not good for the state. So we definitely got some hard decisions to come up and to be made, but that committee will be the first step in doing that.
And I'll add into that the project delivery task force. I think that's where those hard decisions are made. We want that to be a decisions coming from the board and the TCC. From the staff side, we are going, now that we've completed the RTP and have a little more breathing room, we're going to be going hard after hiring a senior project delivery coordinator. And what they will be able to do is step in and really try to untangle some of the delays and obstacles. Maybe that's just a communication issue between the state, the feds, and the local agency, but kind of be that person to help speed up things and unstick things. So kind of on the positive end of getting the projects moving faster as well. So hopefully that will be a step forward.
Felix?
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, seems like, we are acknowledging the problem and we are setting up some, steps in place to take care of this. But what I'd like to know is what other of the regions are doing, because ultimately we may be doing everything right, but if the other regions are not taking this seriously, it's gonna impact, the amount, the money is not just coming to the region, it's coming to the state. So it's just, it's gonna continue to be a problem.
Well, and I was gonna mention that, doing different things across the state, the larger MPOs for the most part have been, kind of co-hosting with the local programs group. And they've usually do either a quarterly, I think Memphis just went to a 6-month meeting, because there's just so many jurisdictions. I mean, they even did like time slots and stuff, so everybody can kind of have their time to come in and, have that conversation, or whether you do it all together, whatever works best. But that's the kind of things that we've been doing. They probably did those here a while ago, but it's been a while since those have been established. And again, we're all restaffing up as well. So, I mean, that's one option there that, they're willing to participate in those and try to figure out where the snags are and talk through those things, or make a decision to move on to something else. So that's what others are doing across the state. Thanks for bringing that up.
Apologize, I'll be really brief. In working with different grants, what y'all are saying is perfect. What you need to do, and I'm sure the technology is available, that as you're tracking all these different projects and the money, if you'll just have built-in benchmarks, and it doesn't need to be necessarily by date, because what happens is, like with 3-star grants, you just get generic comments. Hey, we're 6 months away to this. I think you benchmark it based upon where you're at in the process. Okay, you've started your project on this date. Are you at environmental yet? Are you at design yet? And build those in that are standardized, that everybody accepts, hey, this is what it should be. And it does 2 things. One, it will trigger in that software saying, hey, you're supposed to be at this point, and we don't have anything from you on that. So it elicits that initial discussion so you can find out why. And that gives everybody a heads up, hey, you're just a little bit behind. Let's get you caught up so no one's shocked that they've lost their money. And then the second part is it creates a tiered approach that is documented that says, look, here's 3 different benchmarks that you've missed. So when you go to take somebody's money and reallocate it, it's documented for you. You've got a little bit of backup. And so when they go back and have to, you get calls from certain legislators, whoever it might be, why are you taking our money? Well, here's the 3 different times that y'all haven't done crap. And I just think it protects the organization, allows you to defend what you're doing, but more importantly, it also puts everybody on notice. Hey, you should have this already done. And to Keith's point, and I think you said it perfectly, sir. If you're not there, don't hold everybody else up. But if you are there, then and again, you may have some that like, hey, I've checked in early. And you can look again to where he said later, if you have a trend of this, and we'll say Hendersonville by chance, or the Sumner County has routinely hit their benchmarks early and has brought projects in either early, on time, or, I won't say under budget, but within compliance, then that might be one that you go, okay, when we start having free money, that's who we look at, because they've shown a propensity for being able to do it the right way. Just a little thought, having done some grants in other areas that, can be a little bit of a pain in the ass. So thanks. That was it.
One thing along those same lines that we've seen across the state, and I understand why. Let's get more water. Frog out. And I totally understand why you want to put all the money for all phases, to protect your project essentially. But that's one thing that we need to be looking at as well. When you got something ready to go, get that funding. When you get ready for the next one, then take that funding. It'll be available. And just kind of plan that out too, because we've had some larger projects across the state that, they tied up $20-30 million on a project that was 10 years out. Just tie up those phases, that you can get to. So another thing to kind of think about along those same lines with those benchmarks, and plan your funding for those as well.
And I'll give an example on the current tip with our Columbia Avenue project that we originally had a Columbia Avenue programmed. Again, it was just right in order. And when we did their last tip, I told GNRC staff, I was like, it sounds weird, especially if you got a politician saying, where'd our money go? The money didn't go anywhere. I just told them we could not spend it in this tip. We would only be in right of way. Where are we at right now? We're still in right of way right now. So that let that money free up to go somewhere else. It's not that your project is going away. You're just freeing up project funding for a project that is ready to go in that particular phase, especially in construction. So that's where a lot of our money sits around is we've got all this money programmed for construction and it will still be there. It's just, it's freeing it up for somebody who can use it right now. Any other-
I guess my only question for staff would be, with this expedited schedule, do you guys feel like you have enough time to kind of vet these projects for their schedules and what you're hearing from locals?
Yeah, and I think, I want to emphasize that we're not reinventing the wheel here. The mass of this information has been collected through the RTP process. And I think that's what gives us a little bit of comfort. And, you all should go in and check what we already have. The only changes will be new things that have happened since all that information was collected. Things that may have don't look right. Maybe there was an error. And then, new kind of looking out 27, 28, 29. We didn't know this was ready for that at that point yet. So hopefully it won't be a huge lift on you. It sounds like a whole new process we're doing. But yeah, I think we can get it together. And if there are any concerns about it, if you have any questions about it, then we're gonna hold some virtual workshops, and we're always available to work through them with you.
Want these updates through that NAC application, I think.
It'll be an NAC. I'll show you the NAC in just a moment. It'll look very similar to what you've seen before, but it is technically a different interface. But I'll show you that momentarily.
I was just gonna point out, like, the concern I would have is if we're gonna start talking about moving phases and years and things like that, that could complicate conversations, take longer. Than
Well-
we just go with what we.
If you can go with what you had in there, but again, this is all through a lens of, all right, we've been working on RTP for a year and a half. What has happened in that time frame that has given you real information that your project is actually gonna, use that money in that time frame? And that's where things should move if there's evidence of that, I guess.
There just have to be a lot of communication.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to get that, if we were to do that on any of our projects, there's probably a different council member for every one of our. 30 plans.
I know it's complex
Yeah.
in Nashville,
Now.
but teasing out as much of that feasibility side that we didn't focus on before for the near term years. Be a big help.
And if you don't like it, just blame Jim.
I mean, I'm curious, like, what the precedent is with TPB of taking, I don't know, basis of project out of the TIP. Like, everybody needs to agree, right? They're all have to agree that that's gonna be hard to make the movement on.
There's politics involved in that. I think we all understand that. So that's one of the things with the committees, really to come with some good ideas and really get pen to paper and write those things down and come back to us.
They see how how much money you have fluctuates over time too, and so they're gonna be nervous. if you
That's
have
right.
construction
That's right,
dollars
because there's no guarantees in the future.
I think it'll be a new thing,
Yeah.
but something that we have to consider, just to keep things moving forward and use our money as best as
I would
possible.
love to get our projects all out,
Anything else? All right, Matthew.
On to the tech demo, I suppose, but I'll reiterate the same kind of theme. We will be in constant contact with you. I'll say, I'm going to show you the interface. It is a NAC. It'll look very similar to how you put some of the RTP information in. We, on the calendar right now, internally have a hold on this upcoming Monday, May 11th, to do another workshop if you would like to sign on. And I anticipate we'll do more than this one. We just don't have it on our calendar yet, but we will follow up and give you a way to join that. So I'm going to do a demo today with you of the interface. Don't feel like you have to fully understand it today. We will have other times to talk. I mean, there will be some iterative parts, like especially on the project readiness, the local match documentation. There's not like one standard form we have for you there. There's a place where you'll provide information, and we may come back and say, hey, we think we need something more here, or is there something else you can provide that would help? So just understand that this is not a one and done. We'll be talking, and we'll have multiple times to talk. The interface is live currently. I mean, like I said, we'll formally approve all of the process at TPB, but if you know you're ready to go, I would suggest going in and getting these details in ASAP, just because of the timing there. You can see there's a currently live link, gnrc.org/app/tip tracker. This will eventually transition into the tip tracker that we use to track status on projects. But I'm going to go ahead and pull that up now. This will be a little bit technical and in the weeds, so bear with me as I go through this. You've seen interfaces like this before, most of you, I would imagine. We use a lot of NACs here. Some things I'll point out: you will need a user account to edit information here. You can go read it now. I'm not logged in at present. You can go read it, but you cannot edit anything. The other benefit of creating a login is we can make it so we can filter out your community's projects without having to go through a broader list. If you were in the RTP NAC, you likely already have a user account here, but if you want to stick around after the meeting today and go see if you have one, let me know. Once you do try to log in, if you don't have an account, you'll sign up. I will need to assign your agency to you, so I'll try to check daily to make sure, but do feel free to email me and say, hey, I'm in, can you assign my agency? That sounds I'll be happy to help you do that. Once you are signed in, the header changes slightly. You get that My Tip Projects page. You can see we have the GNRC projects that filter down there. But if you want to see what is, and to be clear, this is pulling from what is in that carryover tip that we've already adopted. So you'll see there's already a lot of projects here. You can add new projects, but we're starting with the ones that are already in the tip. Here, you can add filters. You can sort by lots of different things, project name, tip ID, etc. You can also sort by funding amounts, by agency, lots of ways to manipulate the data. When you are in here, though, really the main thing we're asking you to do, especially for projects that are already in the tip, is just go into the details. You can click in. There's a couple different ways to see those details, but mostly it's this little eye over on the left side. That's the detail view. You can see some basic descriptions of the project here. You can click. We'll actually link you to a summary of the RTP information you provided. This is high level. This is rolled up. But you can see the RTP project details that were submitted. It does not have the line by line requests, so you can see a total cost estimate, but we think that in 28, 29, 2030, it's going to be this dollar amount. That's not in this interface. We will be downloading that and sending that to you by Monday. But you can go in and see those details. If for some reason the scope or description has changed, you can go in and revise the project details. I don't anticipate that will be the primary focus of what you're doing, but do let us know if so. And throughout, you'll see a format where you see the description, the name as it is, or the description as it is, and then a place to propose a revision. So you'll always be able to see what it was and what you're suggesting that it become. You can submit that if there are changes. But really the meat of what we're asking you to do. So there's two rows that look very similar right now. This first one, programmed funds, this is what is in the adopted 26 to 2030 tip currently. This is usually going to be carryover funds. But underneath that, you will see what is currently an identical line. So this funding requests row, this is the meat of what we're asking you to do. We're asking you to go in and show us what you think the tip should look like. So this will be where you say in 2027, we're going to be at construction and it's going to cost this much money. You can go in, you can edit the existing row. If, for instance, we had one with like 3 different phases on the line and you want to break it out into a more detailed breakout, we would recommend that and request that. You can go in and you can edit it. There's all the funding rows. You will see these questions about required documentation. So will this funding row be ready for obligation during the time period? Yes, it's ready now. Yes, before 2030, and you're unsure of the timeline. And why do you think that, basically? And then what is the status of matching funds? Do you already have a budget that gives you the local match? Are you requesting it currently, or really there's just no progress? Again, either case, please provide some justification so we can verify that with you. Similarly, like let's say you just need to add a bunch of different rows, you can do that here. It's a similar interface. You just identify the year. I will say one request we have, while the tip itself will only be 26 to 29, like if you know your project's going to take 7 years to build, through all the phases, we would like you to show your best guess as at the whole delivery. We understand that especially in those later years, it might be a little bit more of a guess. But we'd like you to show beyond the 29 horizon if you think it's going to take that long. That just helps us understand the real project timeline there. Otherwise, let me skim here for a moment. We do ask you, you do not have to identify a fund code. But like, for instance, if we have not added a discretionary award to the tip yet, like we added the ATIP funds for the East Nashville Spokes project recently, go ahead and add that fund code here. If we don't see a fund code, we're going to assume you're trying to target sub-allocated funds in the region. But if you know there's a specific program you really want, we'd love for you to show that. I'll show you, there's a list of all the fund codes that are available. I'll show you in a moment. Let's see here. Yeah. So then if you want more information on that, there's a few different ways to get, sorry, I'm going a little bit ahead of myself. One other thing, if you find a part of the interface that does not work for you, if you don't have a good place to upload a document you want to upload, or you don't think the interface asks the right question, you can always go to the project notes at the bottom here. We'll be monitoring this on a daily basis as well. You can also email us, of course. But this is a good way to make sure we don't lose the comments in the sea of emails. It stays on your project if you put it here. So you can go in and add a project or add a comment. There is a way to upload documentation here if you'd like to do that. So you can go broader than the predefined fields here. Otherwise, I mentioned that you can see the different fund codes. If you're curious, there's a couple different list management things you can do. You can go into the fund codes, and we have a list of fund codes. I think we are missing a tip right now, but you can see a lot of them. You can see like what modal administration it comes from. You can see if it's statewide, regional, et cetera. You can even click to the federal guidance on the program. So if you're not sure, you can read more here. Similarly, if you want to check if something you're proposing, let's say you have a Greenway project that is not a line item in the RTP, and you want to see what project or what RTP ID I want to associate it with, there is a list of all the RTP projects here as well. So you can go through and read these and see if one applies. And again, we're happy to help walk you through this. Don't feel like you have to master this all on your own. Do give us a call, give us an email, but they're here. Otherwise, the last item I think I'll show here. So in many cases, we're expecting that you're going to be requesting funds for projects that are already in progress. We know cost overruns have been a major issue across the industry generally. But that's not to say that you can't request a new project. We do generally expect it to align with the RTP. But you can go up to the top here and request that new SIP project. Of course, there's more information requested because we don't have your description and termini at this point, but there's a broader interface. One comment I will make here, there's a two-step process for new projects. And when you add the TIP project, it does not ask for your funding rows. So what you'll have to do is then go, once you've created it, include your list of new pending projects. Internally, I guess one of our staffers, Andrew, is getting a Greenway, where that's the goal. But you can see it here. We created the description. So you have to then go in that and then add your funding lines. Like I said, I know this is a lot. You're not going to master it all today. We will do a workshop with you very soon and a lot of calls, et cetera. But I'd say if you can, please start poking around in this in the next week or so, so you can start having questions for us. That's the high level.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those of us that already have login credentials from the RTP process, will those credentials still work here, or are they just a new account? Okay.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. They should. And like I said, if you want to stick around after the call, I'm happy to pull up the list. I can pull up the user account list right now and make sure you're set up.
All right. Any questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you, staff. We'll move on to the regular reports. First on the list, TDOT. Stacy, you're up.
Sir, since we last met, the budget was passed by the General Assembly and signed by the governor. We expect to get anytime now the final 10-year plan. Should be a few additional changes to that. Anytime in the next week is what our expectation is on that. So looking forward to that. So that's our main item. we're still coordinating with the feds on getting our STIP adopted. Again, we're in this 26, FY 26 overlap year. The goal is to get, no later than July 1st. That gives us 3 months of overlap for the 26 STIP. And so we expect to get everything addressed with Federal Highway and FTA and get that done by July 1, hopefully sooner than that, but that's where we are on that.
Casey, did they add more funds that now you can add to the 10-year plan? Is that what happened, or did they do that this year? Legislature, did they add more after?
So in the original budget, there was about 400 million. And so in the final one, we'll see where all that went.
Okay, so that's what you're still saying.
Yeah, I've not been privy to it yet, but yeah, about 400 million of that. There's a couple of things. We were trying to get additional 25 million in reoccurring dollars for maintenance. We did not get that. That went to, I think it went to some of the smaller airports. Is where some of that funds went. So there was a few changes there at the end. And once that's all finalized, we'll have a little presentation here to give everybody all the details, but we'll send that out. Expectation, there could be a couple more SPP projects that will be added to that. So hopefully we'll see that soon.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Marty.
Any other questions for Stacy? Thanks, sir. Move on to the chair's report. Don't have anything yet. But I will say, be safe on your way home. I know everybody probably enjoyed their drive in today, so enjoy your drive home. Be safe. I'll turn it back over to GNRC staff.
Thank you. This will be short on my end. Mostly, I will say that you do have the tip status report that was on the table when you arrived here today. This is in line with those conversations we were having about how we're trying to track obligations on projects. Transparently, we'll be having more conversations in the future. And the other caveat I'll always say right now, we're doing that tip call for projects. So the tip project list is going to change dramatically in July. So the numbers we're pulling, like the total programmed amounts in the tip, those are going to shift wildly in the next few months. So if you're tracking this TCC to TCC, expect that this is going to look very different. Like the numbers will look very different in the upcoming cycle. That said, the high level is what's on the screen here, but we're about 12.5% of the tip period has elapsed and about 12% of the FHWA funds have been obligated. I will say my impression reading through the obligation list is this is largely state-led projects that are obligating on this timeline. But for the regional bucket, we are about where we would expect to be overall across the tip period.
So one note that falls in line with this topic, we have TAP lapsing funds. This happens occasionally each year. This is our sub-allocated TAP. Last year, we opened it up and said, do you have a project? I think this year we have found a project to put that money on by kind of doing a swap from STBG funds. It should be a modification. So no funds for the region will be less available to you all with this. So we didn't feel the need to do a widespread call because we're just moving funds around to get those TAP funds that were lapsing to get obligated. We will bring that report to you next TCC to make sure that we got that done and that's transparent for everybody. That said, the way we do that is our sub-allocated STVG funds in our active transportation program, which is being renamed the Safe and Active Streets or Safe and Active Streets program, I think, for our new RTP. But basically, it's a set aside that we've agreed on as a region to support active transportation and other modes and safety in the region. So that's how we can do things like this. There was dedicated funding from the STBG side. If you have a project that is coming to construction and you have an overage on that project, that's one of the reasons for this set aside to exist. So particularly in this pot, we have our TAP sub-allocated money, we have our STBG sub-allocated money. If you have a sidewalk project, you're getting to construction and we see those cost overruns. This is one of those many strategies we're doing to try to speed up projects and get them over the hump. So make sure to come to us and ask if there is something available, because this is an example of something that might be. So and then I think next slide is just upcoming meetings. We have an environmental roundtable tomorrow. It's kind of cool. I don't know if you all have been to any of our environmental roundtables, but tomorrow we're actually going to the biosolids facility at Metro Waste, which is just hop skip that way, and it's actually pretty cool. I've done the tour before, so it's kind of neat to see that. You all are welcome. Check it out on the calendar. Let us know if you want further details on that. Board of Directors meeting. We're in an off month for TPB. No, sorry, we're not. Board of Directors next week, and then Policy Board, and we are on a Policy Board month. We'll be doing the amendments and updating them as far as some of the things we did today. Northern Middle Tennessee Tourism Roundtable later this month, and then we start all again tomorrow. See you in June 3rd for the TCC meeting, and that's the off month with the Regional Council Body meeting. With that, back to you, Chair.
Any questions for staff? All right, seeing none, I'll, one thing, is there any other business to appear before this committee? All right, seeing none, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. So no objections, we are adjourned.
On the table. I didn't say that, you all would think I was sick.
Well, one of us would add it. Where you wanna go? I got a 1:30. I promise I'll only take it once. They come back in, they have the handwritten name tag. Here's your name tag. It's a post-it note.
I gave Mayor O'Connell grievance. Well, if I have a handwritten name tag, I said, because you took your name tag the last time. You said I wasn't supposed to. I went, no.
Yeah.
One round of
Part of you not take your name tag, did you not pick up on?
Okay, we need to start printing them a bright pink name tag. That way people will know they took their name tag.
She'd been asking me about that. I can.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. Yay.
I remember talking about this right now.
I'm gonna start when we get back.
Finally take-
I was like, you had
Off the shelf. I've had a